Minister of Information.
Next question. Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Why did you wake me up?
The minister. Wake up.
Minister.
Minister of Information.
All I'm offering is the truth.
The minister.
The minister's.
I want the truth.
The minister.
You can't handle the truth.
M.O.I.
Minister.
Without knowledge of self.
Minister.
Minister of Information. M.O.I.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
1,000 ministers.
M.O.I. podcast.
All right, everybody, let's get your pens and your pads. What's going on? Peace and light, peace and love. I am Goddess. She's always in. What is happening? Oh, there we go. She's always in the building first. I am _ Goddess 369. Thanks for tapping in, checking in with me. I'm getting feedback. Oh, that's my YouTube. Okay. My bad, y'all. All right, there we go. And my YouTube channel at the same time popping up. Who else we got in this month, man? Cherie Reed Ill. Peace and love to the ills and the bays, the wills and the ways. Peace and light, peace and love. New subscriber, first time catching the live. Big Cream, what's up? What's good? What's good? You tapping in, man. Listen, thank you for joining. And as I always say here, get your pen and your pad. Y'all see my hair braided looking crazy? Get your pen and your pad. And take notes. As best I can tell you. Today we're going to cover a lot of information. What up? Peace and light. Peace and love. What's going on, y'all? All right. So this presentation, y'all, I had this thing done a little while ago. It's going to be new to a lot of y'all. So definitely take out your pens and your pads, take some notes, ask some questions. As usual, you all know that this is very interactive. So, you know, anytime you got a question, feel free to say something to me. Holler at me. Hey, minister, what's this? What's that? And give me a second, because I should have had this set up before I got on live, but I didn't. So you guys got to bear with me right now. Interesting. Get your pens and your pads out. And listen, if you have not subscribed, man, subscribe to this channel. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. So today we're going to talk about the invention of people, 16th century and beyond, Negro, Blacks, Coloreds, African Americans, part 1. You notice in the title, I got the invention of the Negro race, and I have the word psychonegrosis. So we probably should dive into that word first. Psychonegrosis, not necrosis, negrosis, psychonegrosis. Shalom, shalom, Islam, peace and light, peace and light. And just personally, this is something that I've seen take place in our community more than anything. Is just the lack of sharing information. A lot of our people don't know certain things. So this is my effort to, one, educate and to inform us on the things we should be knowing. And really, I think this is the This is the mechanism to breaking that barrier when it comes to the conscious community, or whatever the community is called now. I have no idea what it's called now. You got so much going on with it. A lot of our female counterparts are dressing up with symbols all over their bodies and waist beads, and they dealing with witchery. I call them witches, which is not a bad thing. But the community is so divided over language, over the occupation of the language. And that's going to be another PowerPoint too, dealing with the language. But for today, we're going to deal with just kind of unraveling some of the misnomers of the so-called Negroes or Black people. All right, so that's what we're going to deal with today. Name of the PowerPoint, and I have this PowerPoint available too. If you all want to get a copy of this PowerPoint at some point, be sure to shoot me an email, subject matter, PowerPoint, and I'll send you this PowerPoint with no issue at all. I have it available. But today we're going to go through it. That's a Gmail right there. Also, if you're feeling kind of generous, you drop a donation at $Chef JJ. That's where that goes. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at Minister Informing on Instagram as well. Come give me a Grammy on Instagram. I was on TikTok. I got banned from TikTok. I don't know. TikTok was kind of weird. But anyway, let's dive into this PowerPoint, shall we? All right, the name of the PowerPoint is The Invention of People. Let's just jump right into it. It's Friday. It's Holy Day for all Muslims around the world, especially the Moors, Moor science. And this is the Holy Quran, the Circle 7 Quran or Quadrant 7 Quran. And it says, according to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, Black, or colored. You won't see African American because this was printed prior to 1982-84, where Jesse Jackson gave us the name African Americans against the will of the people. So in this era of time, 1920s up until about the 1980s, you were classified as Negro, Black, colored, race people. We're going to find out why. But according to the Circle 7 Quran, the Moor Science Temple, it says, according to all true and divine records, there of the human race, there is no Negro, Black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land, so on and so forth. So we have a document from the Moor Science Temple saying that there are no such people as Negro, Black, and colored. It's one of the things I think Noble Drew Ali, honors to him, in spite of what people may think I think of him. Happy Holy Day. But this one of the things that Noble Drew Ali definitely propagated and made known to the Moor Science Temple community was, you're not Negroes. You're not Black people. You're not colored folks. Okay? And this is the same thing that Marcus Garvey taught also. Raise up, you mighty race of people. Like, you're not niggas. You're not these titles that were given to you by slaveholders in 1776 and lasted to about 1865. This is a new era in time where we must proclaim our free national name. Now, I'm not going to teach you nationalism or nationality. It's something you have to seek for yourself and understand what nationality truly means. One cannot purchase their nationality. You have to really understand your nationality through and through. All right, so let's move on. Birth of races of humankind. Race, let's talk about race. Because we see the word race or the term race on our job applications and various applications throughout America, mostly because we live here, right? Race as a social construct. Now, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. There's a couple different areas, I think 3 particular areas that our people suffer from the most, and that's dealing with social, economics, and legislative. 3 areas that we suffer from the most. Race is a social construct. We have to understand what social construct means. We remember social studies, right? This is the dynamic study of groups of individuals in a society or community. So race as a social construct is a group of people who share similar or distinct physical characteristics. That's it. Because y'all look alike, that means y'all are the same people. That's far from the truth, right? First use to refer to speakers of common language, and then denotes national affiliation by the 17th century, which is 1600s, y'all. 1600s, race began to refer to physical, i.e. phenotypical traits. The term was often used in a general biological taxonomic, we're going to talk about taxonomy too, since starting from the 19th century, 1800s, to denote genetically differentiated human population defined by phenotype. So let's write down phenotype. If you never heard my lectures before, this is classroom. This is time to get out your pencils and your pens, because this is something you should know. Anything I teach is not something I heard. It's something that's being taught as a curriculum-based information. Grand day, peace and light, fam. So this is something you guys have to write down and study. And I think my platform is probably mostly just for disciples who actually want to learn. Like the 12 disciples that walked with John and Jesus, they had their own group of individuals that wanted to learn directly from the teacher. And they had to take notes, and they had to commit stuff to memory, and they had to study. They had to learn and study and learn and study. And this is part of you guys' learning curriculum, is to take notes. I'm showing you guys information. It's not a bunch of Googling today. I'm showing you the information, and the things that needs to be highlighted, they're highlighted. So race is a social construct, is a group of people who share similar distinctive physical characteristics. What does that mean? When somebody asks you what's your race, you don't have a race, you have an ethnicity, your ethnic background. And we're going to deal with ethnicity also. So we no longer subscribe to race, okay? Invention of race. Race refers to a person's physical characteristics such as bone structure, skin, hair, and eye color. Now this shit was actually made up or invented through what's called pseudoscience, family. And I think we're going to cover pseudoscience just a little bit here coming up shortly. The inventors of pseudosciences and stuff like that. So let's make sure we're taking really good notes, okay? Let's continue. Ethnicity. This is the thing we want to deal with right here going forward, right? And I know a lot in the Moore Science Temple and probably other organizations, they talk about nationality, nowhere more than the Moore Science Temple about nationality, but ethnicity is never really defined and talked about. Yes, you are Moorish, ISH, being the indicator that you're type of something. But what is your ethnic makeup? Ethnicity, however, refers to the cultural factors, including nationality, regional culture, ancestry, and language. What is the language? Do you speak the language? Do you recognize the language? Do you understand the language? Do you have the cultural associations of the costumes or the customs? Okay. Ethnicity, not race. Let's talk about this real quick, because this is what we have to understand with Europeans and how Europeans became to be known as Americans. Now, we know that we are the true Americans, or the true Al-Moroccans, as they call it, or the Tamaricans, or whatever you want to put it at, right? How did Europeans become that? The Naturalization Act, write that down, family. Write down the Naturalization Act. The Naturalization Act passed the United States Congress on June 18th, 1798. Increased the period necessarily for immigrants. Now, who were the immigrants? Who were the immigrants? Who were migrating here from Europe? This is who this is referring to, y'all, okay? Increased the period necessarily for immigrants to become naturalized citizens in the United States from 5 to 14 years. So they had from in the year 1798, most European immigrants, if they want to call them immigrants or foreigners, migrating here, had from 5 to 14 years to become naturalized citizens. Let's talk more about what this is, what this means. It's the legal act or process by which non-citizens in a country may acquire citizenship or nationality of that country that may be done by the statute without any effort on part of the individual, or it may involve applications or approval by legal authorities. This is called naturalization, not nationalization. Europeans do not have nationalization. Their nationality is where they come from. remember, let's go back to this real quick. Their nationality is their ethnic makeup, which is their what? Which is what? Their culture, nationality, regional culture, ancestry, and language. This is what gives them their nationality. So Europeans, or white people as we call them, do not have a nationality. They were naturalized, okay? Big difference. Big difference. I want us to really understand the difference between the nationality and the naturalization. Two different things. All right. With that being said, we have to also understand that when Europeans came here and they had what's called the colonies, those colonies end up becoming states. Those 13 colonies or those 13 states became nations. And those 13 nations became nations under a certain territory. And this is not making sense to you, it's okay. Just write it down, take notes, and study. I'm not going to be able to give you guys everything. I'm going to give you guys the right tools to do the proper research, though, however, okay? So those 13 colonies, which later became known as the 48 territories of the 48 colonies, became known as states. Right now, we live in states, right? But what is a state? And this is going to go hand in hand with understanding what a nation or what nationality means. A state is a nation or territory considered as an organized political community under one government. A state or a nation, they're synonymous. So right now, the state of Georgia or the state of New Jersey or the state of Massachusetts or the state of Boston, the state of New York, the state of South Carolina, those are also known as nations, family. Those are nations. We have 48 nations. This is why in the Pledge of Allegiance, it says, and to the nations for which it stands, one nation, under governmental ordinance department, God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, right? They're talking about these 48 individual nations will collectively act as one nation under God. So each state is a nation. And if you're part of that state, if you're part of that nation through what's called a citizenship, let's go back. I'm sorry, hold on. Let's go back. So here we have a state, which is a nation or territory considered as an organized political community under one government. Once you're naturalized as a citizen or a national of that country or state or nation, which this is what they did. This is what Europeans did. This is how they became nationalized or naturalized. This was called a coup or a coup, right? They took your place. We were the original inhabitants. We were the original aborigines. We still are the original inhabitants. We were usurped through acts such as the Naturalization Act. And then by forming these colonies into states, they automatically became the new nationals of those states or those territories. It's all paperwork, really, paper piracy. All right, let's deal also with a nation is. Anytime the Moors or anybody approach you and ask you what's your nationality, or let's proclaim our nationality, I don't think it's really explained fully what that means. So let's talk about it. A nation means people, people, tribe, kin, genus, class, flock is a large group or collective of people with common characteristics, attributes to them, including language, tradition, customs or costumes, habitats, and ethnicity. The word nation comes from the English word naso, which means birth, your birthright, your birthplace, place of origin, which in terms originated from the Latin word nato, which literally means birth. The word nation is sometimes used synonymous for state. See that? So now we learned that a state can be a nation. So the 48 states that we live in are also called nations. Okay. And the word NATO, word nation or nationality, actually means what tribe are you from? Who are you kin to? What is your group? So for my Moors out there, when you say I have a nationality or my nationality is such and such, what tribe or clan are you claiming? And this is my plight earlier with some of the Moors. When we say we're Moorish, what is our nationality? Our what's called an exonym. We'll talk about exonyms in a minute. Our exonym is Moor, but what is our actual tribe? You know what I'm saying? Are we Creek? Are we Sioux? Are we Powhatan? Are we Pamunkey? What's our tribal affiliation? And once you find your tribal affiliation, that gives way to your customs and your language. And that's when you actually take on the full clave of who you really are, who you belong to, as far as it concerns the nations of the earth, right? What clan you belong to. It's not enough to just say I'm Moorish or I'm Hebrew. This goes for the Hebrew Israelites too. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, which one of the tribes you come from? Which tribe? Because there's 12 of them according to what was written. There's 12 tribes. Which tribe do you belong to? And how do we circumvent that and find ourselves back? Because it says a true mastermind can go back and find himself. Right? Let's continue. So the difference between a country and a state. A country is a geographical territory which may or may not have affiliation with a government or ethnic group. That's just extra bonus information. Let's talk about a stateless person. Now that we know that a state and a nation are the same thing. So when I say a stateless person, I'm talking about a person with no nation, nationless people. I remember when Katrina happened, the reports in the news were they were referred to as refugees, even though they were within the continent of the United States in New Orleans, probably floating in their backyards. They were called refugees because they're also known as stateless people. Under the nomenclature of Negro, Black, and colored, you're considered to be stateless, nationless is what they're saying. You don't have a nationality or a nation. A stateless person, people who were not citizens of any state. Now, what you are a resident of the state of Florida, or a resident of the state of New Jersey, or a resident of the state of New York, or a resident of Philadelphia. You are a resident, but not a citizen. Big difference. Stateless person in international law, stateless is a lack of citizenship. A stateless person is someone who is not considered as a national by any state under the operation of its law. Let's see if you guys remember this right here. Hold on. How many of y'all remember this? This is Dred Scott for y'all. Y'all don't know what he's talking about. This is Dred Scott, what's known as the Dred Scott case, right? And the Dred Scott case, this was decided by Supreme Court, and this is going to go in connection with me talking about what a stateless person is. Remember, a stateless person in international law, a stateless person is someone who is not considered a national by any state under the operation of its law. Some stateless persons are also refugees. However, not all refugees are stateless, and many persons who are stateless have never crossed international border. So, Dred Scott, let's dive in real quick. A landmark decision, United States Supreme Court decided 7-2 against Scott, finding neither he or any other person's African ancestry could claim citizenship in the United States. I'm right here. So you guys see this real big. I think this is brought up more often than any. This is the Dred Scott case. It says, in the landmark case, the United States Supreme Court decided 7-2 against Scott, finding that neither he or any other persons of African ancestry. That means African Americans. If you're an African American, you are not ancestry. This is for the ancestors. This is for the ancestors. The Supreme Court said if you have African ancestry, you could not claim citizenship in the United States at all. And what is the United States? The United States is a collective of nations or a collective of states. And within those states, they have what's called citizens or nationals of that state or territory through citizenship. And because you're claiming to be African, you cannot, in the Supreme Court, is supreme law of the land, in case you did not know that, right? But this entire decision came by way of what's called the Missouri Compromise, or what you guys know as the 3/5 Compromise, or when they identified slaves or whatever, people in bondage, to be 3/4 voted. Not just 3/4 of a person, it's just the vote 3 out of 5. You can only count 3 out of 5. All right. So the reason the Dred Scott case was identified or put into motion was due in part to what's called the Missouri Compromise. This is all through voting, legislation, and stuff of that nature. That's why they try to rally so many Negro votes. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint real quick. Yeah. And do this real quick in 1 second. Present. All right. So now we understand what that means. Nation, let's go here. Going back. So again, dealing with the idea of being African American ancestry, you're not a citizen of the United States territory if you're proclaiming to be African American. And we already know that Negro means death. Let's deal with something else with the more science Temple talks about is Black according to science means death. Black according to science means death. This is something that's probably propagated more than anything throughout the entire organization that I heard the most of, but nobody ever explained which science they were talking about. So let's talk about the science. What science? How many sciences do we have? What type of science do we have? Anybody? Anybody know what kind of science we have? What type of science are we talking about? Which one? Which one? I'll tell you what. I'll show you. Political. This is a science, in case nobody ever knew that. This is a science. There you go. Sharia, that's the right thing to do at this point, is to write it down. Take notes. Go back and look it up yourself later. But the main thing is take notes. It's under the station where the coffee at. Take notes on this. They're never going to tell you which science. What we'll talk about today. Political science. Political science is a science which deals with the systems of government and analyzes political activity, political thoughts, and political behavior. This is one of the sciences. And what I'm talking about is, according to science, Black means death. I'm going to show you the science behind this term of what Noble Drew Ali was talking about. Black, according to science, means death. Nobody has ever explained which science. This is the first science, right now, political science. The next science is social science. 2 sciences. Social science is a major category of academic discipline concerning with society and the relationship among individuals within a society. That'll be us, the so-called Black people. The social science includes the highlighted areas are the areas that we suffer from the most. Economics, anthropology means ancestry, archaeology, which means also science, jurisprudence, history, and linguistics. These are social sciences. Which ones can you identify that so-called Black people suffer from the most? These are the categories of social science. So next time in the MSTFA, when they say Black according to science means death, you can prophetically understand which science they're talking about, because they're not going to tell you which science. It's just going to say according to science. What science? Political science and social science. The areas that affects us the most is economics, law, history, and language. Let's move on. Biology is another science that we have to understand and be concerned with. So we have, let's go back, social science, political science, 1, social science, 2, and then we get into biology, which is a science all by itself. So these 3 sciences, according to these 3 sciences, identifying as Black is death, Negro, civil mortuus. Civil mortuus, and I can say civil mortuus because right here, jurisprudence, which is law. According to law, let's pull this up right quick. Civil mortuus. All right. Let's go here. This is according to law. This is it's called civil mortuus, civil death. In Latin, is civital mortuus is a loss of almost all civil rights by a person due to conviction or felony or due to an act. Let's read the whole thing real quick so we all understand what this is, what this means. Civil death, a loss of almost all civil rights. And remember, this was the big thing they was fighting for in the 1960s, right? The thing that they tell you that Martin Luther King was here to fight for, civil rights, right? Civil rights started in a long time before King was even born. But this is talking about what it is. This is a loss of civil rights, a loss of all civil rights. Under what condition? It's a loss of all civil rights by what are civil rights? Civil rights are a class to protect individuals' freedom infringed by government, social organization, private individuals. They ensure one's entitlements to practice in a civil or political life of social and state without discrimination or repression. By a person due to a conviction for felony or due to an act by a government of a country that results in a loss of civil rights is usually inflicted on a person convicted of a crime against the state or adults determined by court or by legal incompetent because of mental disability. Civil mortuus. That's the jurisprudence part of the social science. Black means death. Look it up real quick. You guys see that? What is the legal word for death? Brain dead. dumb, dead. This all comes from the term black means dead in law. Silva mortuus. Wow. So this goes back to, hold on. Stop screen. Political science, let's continue. Biology. In biology, there's a class called taxonomy. Taxonomy is a branch of science that encompasses descriptions, identification, nomenclature, and classification of organisms. The different studies. This is the one we have to pay attention to right here, which is, oh Lord, what happened? Which is called the Linnaeus taxonomy, meaning either of the original classification scheme of Carl Linnaeus rank basis. Let's look up Carl Linnaeus. Give me a second to write those down. All right, so Linnaeus taxonomy comes from an individual by the name of Carl Linnaeus. Let's look up Carl Linnaeus, which I already have it ready for y'all right here. Carl Linnaeus. Linnaeus was interested in order and boundary in nature. As for mankind, he believed that there were a single human species. He did not use the term race, but divided humans into 4 varieties by continent or skin color. This was the invention of race by skin color. Carl Linnaeus. European was white, African was black, Asian was yellow, and American was red. And in American, where there are Americans, not Africans, black. The association of who you are became associated with Africans through what Carl Linnaeus came up with. Asian was yellow people, and American was red, or copper color, as they call it. This was created by Carl Linnaeus. And we deal with Carl Linnaeus. We start getting to race and species. This is not dealing with that. This is actually teaching backwards from what was called nationality. This is teaching backwards from nationality. This is how we got into the pickle we are in now, dealing with phenotype and skin color and skin tone and light skin and high yellow skin and that skin and that skin and that skin. So this is Carl Linnaeus. Write him down, because we're going to talk about a couple other characters that were also had a part in this as well. So the first name should be Carl Linnaeus. Can't forget that. That's the first name you should write down, Carl Linnaeus. Shit crazy. And let's go back to this. Stop screen. Presentation. Share screen. Share. All right, let's continue. Linguistics is also a science. In case we didn't know, linguistics, science. That's how we talk, the language, English, Black, Moorish, just retarded shit. Linguistics. And linguistics is something called onomastics. Onomastics is the study of history and origin of proper names. Just get into your proper names. Write down onomastics. Onomastics. Anthropomorphic statistics. Human. Anthropomorphics is a anthropology is a study of the names of human beings. The studies of anthropology, anthroponyms, sorry. Anthroponyms. Anthrop means human. Nami, name, is a branch of onomastics. Besides linguistics, researchers in many fields take part of this study, including anthropomologists. So what word we're going right now? Let's write down anthroponyms. I spelled it right. Yep, I spelled it right. Write that down. Because we're talking about more this, more that, and more because of these mores and the black and the black and the blickety black. Go back to onomastics, which is the study of that part. Let's see. The subdivision of anthropomony, of ethonyms. Ethonyms. Let's write down ethonyms. 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 So ethonyms, you have the word again, nation. This is the given name from your nation. It wasn't more. Ethonyms as a given name applied to an ethnic group. Ethonyms can be divided into two categories, exonyms and endonyms. It's your given name, surname, clan name, matron, patron, techonyms, nicknames. More could be a great nickname. Ethonyms from the Greek means nation. It's a given applied to ethnic group. Ethnonyms can be divided into two categories. That's exonyms and autonyms, self-designation. The self-designation of what you call your people and what a other group call you. Let's go into political science. Politics. Ethnography. The term black is often used in the Western to describe people whose skin is darker. In the United States, they're particularly used to describe African Americans. The term African Americans have changed over the years as shown in the categories of the United States Census taken every 10 years. So every 10 years, your designation change. This is the head count of the Negro population in the U.S. Census. 1790, the first U.S. Census was taken in 1790. Let's write that down. The first U.S. Census was taken in 1790. Just four categories were used: free white males, free white women, other free persons, and slaves. It's important to understand that it had to put free white males because white people were under slavery as well. Free white males, free white females, other persons of color. Those are the four categories of 1790. According to the U.S. Census, 18th century, 19th century, and 20th century. In 1820s, the census new category was color added. 1850, the census slave were listed by owner, and B indicated black, while M indicated mulatto. 1890 census, the categories were race were white, black, mulatto, quadroon, a person 1/4 black, octroon, a person 1/8 black, 8 black, Chinese, Japanese, American Indian were added 1890. 1930 census, anyone with any blood was supposed to be listed as Negro in 1930. Any black blood was supposed to be listed Negro, any of it. Any. In 1970 census. What's she doing? In 2012, census, the category Black African American was used to define a person having their origin in any rational African. The point, do y'all see how this shit changed? It changed so many times. And this is what Noble Drew Ali was talking about. According to all true and divine records, there's no such people as Negro, Blacks, and colored in human. This shit was created. It was a created construct. These were names given to you by slaveholders in 17, whatever the fuck, and it lasts to whenever the fuck they feel like it's still going on. Because some of us are still identifying as Black, Negro, and colored. This shit has to stop. I'm showing you how they invented this shit. It was invented. It was an invention. Let's move on. Write him down. Walter Ashby Plecker. Walter Ashby Plecker is the reason that they came what's called the one drop law. If you had one drop of Negro blood in you, according to this guy, you was considered to be Negro. What'd she say? I actually listened to Rob Hayes. Rob Hayes, okay. I don't know. That's all I say. Rob Hayes is okay. I think my information is founded in a little bit more. Like I actually show y'all the information. I don't just talk about it. I think he's great for like barbershop talk, as we call it. Rob Hayes can talk a lot about a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. If you could reach out to Rob Hayes, I'm not against it. I'll be willing to hop on live with Rob Hayes at some point. But right here now, this is Walter Ashby Plecker. He is the reason that we had the one drop law. I think I covered it a little bit more too. Yep, 1912, Plecker became the first registrar of the Virginia newly created Bureau of Vital Statistics, a position he held in 1946. A Vault white supremacist and advocate of the Eugenics, he became a leader of the Anglo-Saxon Club of America in 1922. Bureau of Vital Statistics. If you don't know about the Bureau of Vital Statistics, this is where your birth certificate is. This is where all your information is. So check him out. Check him out. Let's continue. Indians were reclassified as colored people by Robert Plecker. As a registrar, Plecker directed the reclassification of nearly all Virginia Indians as colored on their birth and marriage certificates because he was convinced that most Indians had African heritage and were not trying to pass as Indians to evade segregation. Consequently, 2 or 3 generations of Virginia Indians had their ethnic identification altered on these public documents. There you go. You are the original Indians. Your classification was changed at the Bureau of Vital Statistics. This is where your birth certificate comes from to tell you who you are. You were identified as such. It's no secret. Racial Integrity Act of 1924. Look that up as well. It's actually a bulletin in the state of Virginia. Out of this, I think later came Love versus somebody. That's why Virginia is known as the state of love, due to that court case. Racial Integrity Act of 1924. Now let's get into bio nature of the Negro. The first use to refer to a speaker of a common language then denoted a national affiliation. By 17th century, race began to refer to physical, i.e. phenotype traits. The term was often used in the general biological taxonomy sense, starting from the 19th century to denote genetically differentiated human population defined by phenotype. The term white race or white people, the term white race, white people entered into the majority European language in the 17th century. In the context of racialized slavery and unequal status of European colonies, describe a population as white in reference to their skin color predates this notion is found in Greco-Roman ethnography and other ancient sources. Now we're going to go back to the 101 question of the Quran, key 93. If you're not familiar with if you're not, y'all talking about Rod, man. Again, man, Rod, I heard a lot of Rod Hayes say, he does a lot of talking. And a lot of stuff that Rod Hayes talk about, he has to show. I mean, and this is up to y'all, Eric, Hamer. Y'all should demand more proof of what he talks about, is what I'm saying. You should demand a lot more proof of what he's saying. Some literature or something. He just can't go on and on with this banter of trying to interweave stories and what happened in history and that's all he pretty much does. He talks a lot. Anyway, 101 Quran question for you Moors. We define the word white. White means purity, purity means God, and God means the rule of the land. Science of race. Western studies of race, ethnicity in 18th century developed into what we would known as scientific racism. Science of race. Racism is a science. I think I'll hold right there. Racism is a science. It's a science. Prominent European scientists writing about human and natural differences included a white or Western European race among a small set of human race imputed physical, mental, and aesthetic superiority to the white category. And that's it. That's all it is. It's a science. It's created. I want to show y'all something else real quick before I get out of here. There we go. Write this word down. Psychonegrosis. Yes, racism is political. It's not a real thing. Write this word down. Psychonegrosis. I mean, of course. I mean, if you guys can reach out, I don't know Rod Hayes. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. I think I heard his stuff once or twice. I looked into who he was, and he was just doing a lot of talking. He was talking a lot about a lot of stuff. And I think people who I call new woke, it's exciting for new woke people to hear somebody talk like that, I guess. But Rod ain't saying anything different than what John Henry Clark said and the older people. Like, I was raised on the older people. Ivan Van Sertima, Chancellor Williams. I don't know these new people. I just found out who Rod Hayes was maybe 3 weeks ago. I never rocked with any of the new people, like Polite or what's his name? None of them. Rizza Islam. I don't rock with none of them. Like, that's straight up me. Let me put my big screen on. I don't rock with none of those cats. Period. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're about. If it's not Dr. John Henry Clark, if it's not Chancellor Williams, if it's not Ivan Van Sertima, if it's not Dr. Deborah Blair, I don't know these new people. I don't know these new people. I have no idea. Rod and Young Elder be running the receipts. Again, I have to see it. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen anything that they pulled out that was worth scholarship. I say that. Scholarship worthy. Just I don't get it. But I'm gonna leave you out with this right here though. Psychonegrosis. This is the biggest plight right now that's affecting a lot of people. It's a mental disorder affecting most of our people, mostly. Psychonegrosis is a mental disorder affecting the spirits, personality, motives, and action of Negroes who have failed to rid themselves of psychological ills they have incurred from their collective experience with foreigners. Marked by a disorder, ideal of self and others, psychonegrosis results in unnatural patterns of perception, logic, thought, and speech, behavior, and emotional expression, and is accompanied by various other unnatural deposit manifestations, such as been limited to self-group depreciation, the champion of non-Black ideals, conversation, and non-Black religious xenophilia. And I think that's the main thing that's affecting us, for sure. It's psychonegrosis.
You gotta go to that spreadsheet.
But outside of that, if somebody, you guys eagerly want to reach out to Mr. Rod Hayes and inquire what it looked like, I'm not gonna reach out to him because I'm not impressed by nothing that he do. Yeah, that's most of what I do. I try to get you guys to feel like I try to do more of a schooling. That's why I've always told y'all from day one, pull out your pens and your paper. I'm not here to entertain y'all. I'm not here for none of that social media crap. Take notes and write this stuff down and go study for yourself, and then we can study together. Then it becomes something not what you heard. I feel like with Rod Hayes, a lot of you guys listen to him for entertainment value, and he sounds really good to a lot of you guys. But a lot of us who's trained to be scholars and to actually understand this information, we have to write down the information, cite our sources, and then go back and do our own studying. Okay, that's important for me, and I'm not real big on a whole bunch of followers. Just give me a handful of people. Jesus had 12. Give me 12 of y'all that's for real to get the work done. A whole lot of people who just, I think, watch other people for entertainment to hear how it's a rhetoric. It's a bunch of rhetoric, honestly. So study. Do your own studying. Seek information. And I think would be good. So that's my time. I plan on doing another live at some point today to talk about language. I'm gonna do the same thing with language and linguistics. I'm gonna do a whole bunch of these with PowerPoints now, so you guys can actually see the information, not just hear the words. You guys have a chance to write that information and do the studying for yourself. And that's what's important. Studying for yourself. All right. So yeah, that's gonna be my time, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Peace.
Minister of Information.
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Why did you wake me up?
The minister. Wake up.
Minister.
Minister of Information.
All I'm offering is the truth. Minister.
The minister's.
I want the truth.
The minister.
You can't handle the truth.
M.O.I. Minister.
Minister.
Without knowledge of self.
Minister. Minister of Information. M.O.I.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
1,000 ministers.
M.O.I. podcast.